Happy New Year! Welcome to Sol y Luna Inspirations. Today we're excited to do a video on the Cancer full moon happening at the end of the week. It's going to be on Friday, January 6th, 2023 at 3:08 in the afternoon. Being mindful of the story we tell.
Welcome and Happy New Year. This is Martin Comtois. I'm with Dayana Robinson and we're doing Sol y Luna inspiration. This is the first video of the year. We've been at it for a whole year now. We're beginning year 2. We want to thank everybody for subscribing and supporting and asking so many beautiful questions and just engaging with us and helping us grow the channel. The last video we did, actually the one before last, on the winter solstice, healing the mothers, has done the best of any videos we've put out yet. It had over 1,200 views. Wow. Which, compared to what's out there, doesn't sound like much, but we're growing slowly, and that was a new milestone for us. So thank you, everybody, for tuning in and supporting our channel. We're doing a Cancer new moon video today, and let us show you what we have in store with that. So this is the Cancer full moon, being mindful of the story we tell. What does that mean to you, being mindful of the story we tell, Dayana?
Being mindful of the story we tell, to me, shares our ability to change our relationship to a situation that's happening. So the story we tell is what we believe is happening, and there's that funny piece where there's all these perspectives of the same situation that can happen, and yet the story that we tell is what's gonna I don't know how to say this, like fortify our personal experience of it, and everybody can see the same situation and have their own experience happen at the same time, even though they're all different. It's all the same.
Myth and story, and being mindful of the story that we tell, that the story that we tell is in harmony with who we are, first of all, is tremendously important. So being mindful that we're living the right story. I think that that's going to be the theme for the whole year, is learning to live the right story. Also, being mindful that the story we repeat, the story we put out there, has to reflect who it is that we are. And we have to be mindful that the story we tell influences our circle. So then being responsible to tell a story that is uplifting, that is encouraging, that reflects who it is that I am. So this being mindful of the story we tell,
being truthful. I think there's a piece of that too. There's these words I have written on my wall that I did a few years ago when I was doing some big healing work, and it's when you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change.
I'm reading Jordan Peterson's book right now on the 12 habits, and he talks about that, one of the habits is, tell the truth, at least don't lie, he says. So in this video, the moon, so we're going to look at the moon, sun, Mercury. Mercury is moving retrograde, and a day after the full moon, Mercury will be in conjunction with the sun. So that is the combustion, the exact conjunction of Mercury and the sun. That's the key point in the Mercury retrograde cycle. For those of you who've seen the Mercury retrograde video, we're at that key point now where insight is coming. We're in review mode. Mercury has been coming closer and closer to the sun, and now it will pass the sun the day after the full moon. And now we have an exact conjunction of Sun and Mercury, and it's in T square to Chiron.
That's a potent one. What do you think about full moon being T squared to Chiron?
Well, Mercury playing a really important role. Mercury retrograde, we're in review mode. The moon in Cancer, the moon rules Cancer. The sun, Mercury is in Capricorn, so it's ruled by Saturn. Actually, all the other planets in the chart are all ruled by Saturn. So that Saturn-Uranus square also plays a really important role. But here we have that Sun, Moon in square to Chiron. So in that video, Healing the Mothers on the solstice, on the winter solstice, we start again with this Chiron, the wounded healer, the call to shamanic work, the wound that informs our need to heal. And so then that begins, with Mercury retrograde being in review mode, and then the Sun Mercury conjunction, Moon Chiron T square. So that's really putting our focus on what needs to be healed in ourselves and reviewing and preparing. We're kind of all starting the new year with Mercury retrograde. It's like, oh, what are my intentions for the year? I'm not so sure. I think if I just survive, that would be a good idea. And and then, well, if you healed yourself, and I think that if we can have that intention, to heal more, to be healthy, to become healthy, both individually and collectively, that sounds like a really good start to the year and a really good start to the effort that we're putting out.
Yeah, I feel like the double whammy with Mars also retrograde. It's hard to make a concrete choice sometimes right now, but it's also hard to make action on it.
Well, also with Mars also moving retrograde, in Gemini, that really adds to that difficulty of moving forward. And then Mars will turn direct also shortly after this full moon. So we're liable to get things moving a little bit more as as we move towards the next new moon. In the next new moon will be in Aquarius. So then we looked at that Sun, Moon, Mercury. Now, if you look, we have Moon, Uranus, Trine, and we have Uranus, Mercury trine, and a Neptune, Mercury sextile. Forms a sextile and a trine, kind of so we have the T square of the moon with Chiron, and then to each side of it we have Uranus and Neptune. So Mercury Uranus is it's usually explained as genius, or as really inspired the universal mind and the personal mind. So that's why I get into the being mindful of the story we tell. Uranus, Mercury, it tells a story of enlightenment and of revolution and evolution. And then Mercury, Neptune, Sun, Mercury, Neptune down to the moon. Then we have the story. This is a mystical story. This is a story of redemption, of wanting to redeem, heal the soul. So then with the moon going both, so we have the moon, Mercury, Sun, T square with Chiron, and then we have that sextile trine with Uranus and the sextile trine with Neptune. So the story goes, Mercury retrograde, we're trying to redefine our story. We're reviewing the story we're telling. It's a story of evolution and revolution, Uranus. Chiron, it's about healing, and Neptune, it's about redemption. So it starts the year in a quite powerful way, huh?
Yeah. Kind of inspiring.
It's like you know, you know, it's a myth, it's a story, and that's what we try to do. Also, when we do astrology, is we try to tell a story with the actors that are at play.
Yeah.
So that's the moon so far. What else do we have in this moon? We have, oh yeah, we had the New Year's Day Venus Pluto conjunction. How's that for starting the new year? How did you find that? How did you find that energetically? Venus Pluto conjunction.
I was a little nervous, but I had so this is yesterday in our timeline, and it was really beautiful day. A lot of love, a lot of appreciation for things in my life, a lot of like wanting to transform where my comfort zone was is a theme that came up a lot. I jumped in the ocean, which felt really cleansing.
You know, of course, moon Pluto is associated with the myth of Persephone. You know, and also the solstice, the winter solstice, the shortest day of the year, the day of the least amount of light, is also associated with Venus being in hell. So the myth of Persephone, and then we've seen a Venus-Pluto conjunction around the solstice almost every year for the last 3 years. It's been a very common theme. And so Venus in conjunction to Pluto is the rebirth process of the light. And Venus, I like to associate Venus with my inner creativity, but my inner soul, you know, my inner child, and expressing the inner child and finding and expressing it. So again, telling that story. And what's interesting to notice too is that with that Venus Pluto conjunction that happened, also we're going to have a Sun Pluto conjunction coming up, and then the moon will be in opposition to Pluto, and the Aquarius full moon, a new moon, really falls very close to Pluto in conjunction. So and then Mercury retrograde, when it turns direct, will come and conjoin Pluto. So what is Pluto for you in your own process?
On the 31st, Mercury also conjuncted Pluto again. So this writing this story.
It never made it to Pluto. It turned retrograde right before making it to Pluto.
What am I thinking? Oh, I'm thinking it trined Uranus. That's very different. Never mind. Thank you. I'm sorry. So Pluto's in my first house, and it seems to like rule the chart in a lot of ways.
While Pluto in the first house, it's like
it's a lot.
You know, first house is what people perceive you of, so you have an intense Plutonian presence in people's lives, huh?
Yeah, people either love it or loathe it. It seems. But Pluto,
mostly they're scared of it, huh?
Maybe. Pluto, I like following Pluto for the generational aspects of things because it moves so slow, and seeing this like, especially in, I don't know if it's always been this way, but in my life so far, I've seen a lot of this like naming these generations and then putting all these like traits on these generations. And it's been really neat to try to understand more of like why we associate these things with baby boomers or millennials or X-Gen or whatever the term is then, to try and get a deeper understanding of what is coming up for that. So I use Pluto for that, but I also find Pluto is about, death and rebirth and what's dying to be reborn.
We're going to tell lots of stories about Pluto in this coming year. Pluto is going to be entering Aquarius in 20. That's a big shift in 2023. Then it goes back into Capricorn, then comes back into Aquarius in 2024, then goes back into Capricorn, and then comes back into Capricorn at the end of 2024, and then it's going to be in there for good. And so this dance between Pluto and Capricorn and Pluto and Aquarius, and what shift that's going to be, and we're going to find that in March, when Pluto first comes in. March is going to be a very big month this year but we'll talk more about that. So let's look at the important dates that we have to keep mindful of. So we have, well, Mercury turned retrograde on the 29th, and on the 30th, Mercury conjoined Venus. And we've been following that. That happened 3 times in the course of last year, on the 26th, on the 27th of September, on the 22nd of November, and December 30th. We had 3 conjunctions of Mercury, Venus, and Sagittarius, Virgo, Sagittarius, and Capricorn. Interesting, huh? And so, what is a conjunction of Venus and Mercury in Capricorn for you?
For me, conjunction of Venus and Capricorn, or Venus and Mercury.
Venus and Mercury in Capricorn. Yes, sorry.
Capricorn being for me about structure and authority and using your willpower in a useful way, and then Mercury being communication and Venus being about creativity and love. It's like, how are we using our voice and our creative power in a useful way for the world?
Yeah, what I use Capricorn too is I make a sentence of giving form. Capricorn wants to give form to things, So a sun in Capricorn with Mercury retrograde in Capricorn in conjunction with Venus, then we're seeking to give form to something that is both pleasing, and with Mercury retrograde, we're reflecting on what is really the best thing that I could give form to. And so then that Mercury Venus conjunction, gives a flavor to it all. And again, that was a few days ago.
And the third of the cycle, which might have brought some completion.
Yes, well, all fall long, that Mercury, Venus, those 2 planets travel within a few degrees of each other this whole time. So that's something that's been on our mind, is giving a voice to our feelings and our emotions. I think we've been Saturn repressed, for the better part of the last 5 years, with Saturn in Capricorn and Saturn in Aquarius. And like our feelings and our emotions are like, let me out of it. I want to get creative. I want to, write poetry. I want to, make art, but Saturn says, no, you're going to work. And so, so then we had that January 1st, the Venus Pluto conjunction. And then January 6th, the new moon, that's today. Then 7th, Sun Mercury conjunction. We talked about that. Then on the 11th, Mars stations direct. Oh, then we're going to start moving on everything that we've been reviewing in the Mars field of activity in Gemini. Now, Mars will trace back its step, and it's covered that ground twice through Gemini. So this is the phase of the retrograde cycle where we finally get it, what it is that we need to do, so we can follow Mars through the rest of Gemini. And Mars will be getting out of Gemini in March as well. Everything happens in March this year. So many different things. In March this year, we have a Jupiter Chiron conjunction. We have Saturn coming into Pisces. We have Pluto coming into Aquarius. We have Mars leaving Gemini, coming into Cancer. Major shifts. So I would imagine that the first few months of the year will be quite quiet and reflective. But we're going to start moving onto those new things that we discovered about through the Mercury retrograde cycle, and through that profound and long-lasting Mars retrograde and Mars in Gemini. I think we're going to find our voice, and we're going to pay attention to the story we tell. Yeah. It's a story of love and healing and redemption and evolution and revolution and creating a better world. That's the story we all have to be telling. We can repeat the story of the craziness and the disasters, and we can repeat that, or we can tell a better story. Because when we repeat this negative story, we empower it. The I Ching says that if you want to fight evil, you empower it. It's better to make energetic progress in the good. You ignore evil and you just tell a better story. I think that that's going to be the signature of 2023. You have some beautiful slides on the medicines for.
Right before that, just one thing I just realized we forgot to put in the dates is I have to double check me, but I'm pretty sure it's the 18th. We also see Mercury go direct as well.
Oh, okay.
So we've got nice moving forward energy later this month, which is exciting. Yeah, and then that new moon, we'll have another video for you soon on the Aquarius.
At 1 degree, so it will be conjoined Pluto, so we'll talk more about Pluto. Ooh. Yep.
If you're looking at your chart, just take note that 16-degree mark of Cancer and Capricorn, if it's activated in your chart, also on the cardinal cross, so Aries and Libra, if you have anything at 16 degrees, you might be feeling this extra potent this full moon. And yeah, I do have a few little medicine slides. So Cancer in the body, Cancer rules the stomach, the mammary glands, and the connective tissue within the body. And the tissue salt that supports these parts of the body is calcium fluoride. Calcium fluoride helps to heal the connective tissue and allow for strength and movement. It allows the stretchiness to happen, so we can stretch to expand and then release and not let it break us. So you can kind of imagine like Cancer, the ocean has these high tides and then these low tides, and it has this ability to kind of stretch and tighten without having to hurt itself. If you are finding that you tear easily, say you're stretching and you can pull ligaments easily, or you have done this recently, this would be a really nourishing tissue salt to help bring more water and movement to these tight aspects of the body. And then some herbs that support the Cancer within our body is chickweed, honeysuckle, and water lily. How have you been finding your, well, maybe not mammary glands, but connective tissue and stomach lately, my son?
Well, one of the things that I've really, usually I'm very ambitious when I put my intentions for the year ahead. And this year, my main intention for the year was to be more present in my body and to heal, to nurture myself, to lose weight, to get in shape, to just be more connected to the moon and to Cancer and to those things that, because I'm aging, I'm coming to my 64th birthday in a month. And that's been a lot to contend with. And so then the reality that if I'm going to do good work in the future, I have to be healthy. And so I think that a lot of us are in that place that if we want to go on, we have to be healthy. And being healthy is 4 things, right? It's being healthy of mind, healthy of body, healthy of soul, and healthy of spirit. Our thinking has to be healthy. Our body has to be healthy. We have to be inspired creatively, and we have to do what it is that we are here to do in the world. And so that's my main focus this year. And that's my plan, and I'm sticking to it.
I love it. It's a good plan. It's a beautiful focus point. Because we're still in Capricorn season, that Capricorn axis. Capricorn rules the knees, the bone structure, and the skin. So the connective tissues, Cancer is like the inner tissue, and then Capricorn would be the outer tissue. So this is a different tissue salt. This is calcium phosphate or Calcera phosphorica. So the phosphates are really essential in mitigating our nervous system. So how our nervous system maybe pulls on the minerals in our bones and how it pulls on the ligaments to be able to regulate itself. You see that a lot if you're deficient in certain nutrients, especially your phosphates. Then you can see a twitching leg, or you can see different acidity levels. You may have even things like poor teeth health, maybe having digestive issues. There's a lot of things that can go with having acidity in the blood too much. So this tissue salt can help with that a lot. It's also really good for anything that's osteo related and bone related. So if you've got osteoporosis or anything that is wearing on the bones, I know I have been blessed with genetically poor teeth, so I try to always cycle through this once a year and making sure I'm getting enough calcium phosphate tissue salt so that I'm allowing my body to be able to hold more calcium within my bone structure to help nourish my teeth. It's also really good if you have any fractures going on or late dentition in children. And some herbs that support this Capricorn function in the body is horsetail, slippery elm, and comfrey.
Interesting how this bone structure, I was thinking what you were thinking when you were speaking, you know, of everything that's in Capricorn right now with Mercury, Venus. Well, Venus just left, but Mercury, Venus, and the Sun, and all of them conjuncting with Pluto, you know, so being mindful of our bone structures and our structures. That's the great meaning too of Pluto and Capricorn, right? It's the death to a whole lot of structures. And so it'll be very fascinating to see what happens with Capricorn moves into Aquarius and this back and forth thing that's going to happen for the next few years. That's going to be fascinating. Thank you so much for joining us, you guys. Thank you, Dayana. That was a beautiful video, I think, and we hope you liked it. Please do subscribe, and ask questions if you have them, and we'll be back next week with another video.
If you want to get in touch, here's some connections to do so. Spirit of the Times 108 at gmail.com.
Reach out for a reading or some dream analysis.
And feel free to message me too if you like, daybydayhealing at gmail.com. Also comment, like, subscribe. We try and follow up and appreciate your feedback. And wishing you all a really wonderful new year ahead.
Happy New Year.
Happy New Year.
Woohoo!